Hello and welcome to my presentation about my vocabulary app called WordWise. Let's get to my persona, Paul Alexander. He's 25 years old and is Spanish-German. He is taken and is currently living in the United Kingdom as an international student from Spain. He is studying health and nursing and is planning to settle down in the UK to move together with his girlfriend. Let's talk about his behavior. He likes to use apps like Duolingo or Memrise very intensively because he wants to gain a bigger vocabulary. He is also very dependent on translation apps because he often stumbles across new words. He is practicing his pronunciation through daily conversations with his girlfriend and university peers. He also likes to use the flashcard feature as he can use it for both his English and nursing studies. Let's talk about his needs and goals. He would like to have an app that doesn't need connection. He would also like to have a feature that reads out the pronunciation so he knows how to say it correctly. Paul also likes to use interactive features like quizzes because he's already studying the whole day. It's also important for him to have a feature where flashcards and notes can get created. And last but not least, he would also wish for a clean and user-friendly UI. Now we have come to the main problem, which is that Paul needs a way to have a vocabulary app that is versatile and offers many options of study. How will we know that this is true? We will know that it's true when Paul is using the app consistently and is also expanding his vocabulary, improving his pronunciation, and is generally able to get his English to a certain level of him feeling comfortable to move to the United Kingdom. Let's get to the user flows. My first user flow that I made was for the onboarding process, and for that, the user opened the app first and then they got welcomed. They after had to enter their name and choose the preferred language, and after that choose the language they would like to improve. Of course, they also have to choose their language expertise. After that, I planned that the user would start the tour and would click on the first lesson. First, they would fill out the missing word. Second, they would choose the right word, then translate the sentence, and then repeat the sentence. And after that, the first lesson would have been completed, and they would have started the login process. But it turned too much to a trial rather than onboarding. So I changed that, and instead, the user is now seeing a picture explaining the feature. The first one would be fill out the missing word. Then they get to the feature explaining choose the right word. Then they get to the feature where they have to translate the sentence. And lastly, they would get to the feature where they have to repeat the sentence. And here you can also see my wireframe sketches. Let's get to the second user flow, which is the sign up and login process. First, the user is opening the app, and then they can decide to either watch the onboarding or skip that and go straight to the login or sign up. I chose Apple and Google as the two SSO methods, and of course there's also the option of signing up or logging in with your email. After that, the user has to enter the password or verificate. Depending on what they do, they have to agree to the terms of service and the privacy policy, and also choose the purpose of studying. And after that, they get to the homepage. Here you can also see the wireframe sketches I made. At the top, you can see the wireframes I did for the sign up and login process. And at the bottom, you can see the other main features. For example, the admin area, the menu, how to add vocabulary, and how to review vocabulary. Let's get to the basic facts about my usability test, where 2 out of 3 interviews took place at the specific study cafe, which allowed us to stay for a long time without feeling bothered. And the third interview took place over FaceTime. When was it? Each test took place at the late afternoon. How was it? Every interview was not recorded and the notes were only taken with pen and paper. And lastly, for the metric, for this testing, I used the Jacob Nielsen Error Severity Ranking Scale. Let's get to the prototypes. For the 4 prototypes, I decided to show the sign up and login. Then I decided to show the admin area where the user can turn on the daily reminder. Then I decided to also show the first page that the user sees when trying to review vocabulary. And lastly, the menu. Let's get to the results of the actual usability testing. So the first task was to log in using the SSO method. All 3 of them logged in without problems, but they recommended to make the Google and Apple button a little bigger. The second task was to turn the daily reminder on, and every participant was very fast with it, but they said it was a little confusing because there was only a turn on button, but not when the reminder would actually happen. So I will be changing that and adding the option to turn on the reminder whenever the user wants to have it. The third task was to open and review an existing flashcard pile, and most of the users were very fast with it, and they said that the icon was very self-explanatory and easily understandable, but they said the UI was a little lacking. So I will be changing, or more like improving, the first page of the flashcard pile. The fourth task was to add new vocabulary to an existing flashcard pile, and all 3 users had difficulties finding where they could add that. So my solution will be creating an explanation intro so they know where they can access what in the menu bar. After conducting the usability testing, I was able to use their feedback to improve my prototypes. In the first picture, you can see that the Google and Apple ID button are now bigger. In the second picture, you can see that there's now a way to set the reminder at a specific time. And in the third picture, you can see that the UI changed a little. And last but not least, in the collection of the 4 pictures, you can see that there's now an introduction of where they can access what. What did I learn? By doing the usability testing, I learned that a lot of facts that the designer knows and sees as natural aren't automatically known by the user. The second lesson would be that I also have to be a little more inclusive, or more like think inclusive. Because for the younger generation, it's normal to see little details, but the older generation often struggles with bad eyesight. This is something I noticed by conducting one interview where the interviewer wasn't able to see the X to close the picture of the onboarding. And of course, the app should be for all ages. And lastly, the importance of testing the prototype, because this could bring new or even better ideas or solutions. What are my future steps? I want to start by checking if all the buttons are actually clickable and easily accessible. So basically that the user doesn't have to be very careful when trying to press the buttons. The second one would be working on the UI. Thank you for listening, and I hope you liked my presentation.